Everything, everywhere, all at once. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I didn't hear audio there. Did you?
No audio there. I got so excited to throw the clip in of Harrison Ford that I didn't even check if the thing exported correctly. Welcome to the Ford Fiesta, the show that's entirely
Wait. Let's try this again.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. 1, 2, 3.
We got the other one. I loved your rendition. You should know it by now.
Yeah, I'm fairly familiar with that tune. So it's been haunting me all my life. Wasn't it something he said in one appearance? Harrison Ford?
Yes,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I hear it at colonoscopy.
Yeah. All right, Adam said, "Welcome to the Ford Fiesta," and he's right.
Welcome to the Ford Fiesta.
So you're probably saying to yourself, "This is a show about Harrison Ford movies. How can we possibly make it about the Oscars?" We don't have to. It just was, wasn't it? It was all about Harrison Ford last night.
Paul, can you believe? Would you believe when we started this venture of like, you know what? People are starting to forget about Harrison Ford. Let's do a show about Harrison Ford. We love Harrison Ford. We'll watch all of his movies again. We'll get excited. And you know what? If he's retired after, as far as we could tell after Call of the Wild, if that's like his sort of swan song, he's kind of slowly fading out. Then we'll cover his old movies and we'll go, for a new generation that doesn't remember Harrison Ford, we'll be able to excite them. Could you imagine when we started this, that Short Round would win an Oscar?
No.
While Harrison Ford has 2 TV shows on and an Indiana Jones movie coming out in 114 days. So where's my Harrison Ford watch here? 109 days, says the Harrison Ford watch.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and then he sure enough, is he forgotten? Hell no, not if you're getting him. I mean, they're positioning him for Everything Everywhere All at Once so you could have a short round moment, but it doesn't always work, with the Chadwick Boseman thing when Anthony Hopkins won, or other times Harrison Ford himself, 1998, and he's positioned to give Spielberg an Oscar, right, for Saving Private Ryan, and the Oscar goes to, and even he looks like Shakespeare in Love. Even he looked shocked, So they set it up, right? But then you never know what's going to happen. And that's
he did give it for Schindler's List, right? That was Harrison Ford presented Best Director to Spielberg. That one
might have.
Right?
He might have. He was going to. They set him up for Private Ryan, but again, It took a right. All right,
just look at this.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Oh, look at this. It's K-Hoi Quan. Oh my God. That's the end of cynicism, folks. We beat it. I
can't wait till next year when Mola Ram dominates the Tonys. What's his name? Amir Puri. Yeah?
Amrish. I remember because I was like, he's almost like Amish. Like
he's almost showed up in Witness. Yeah.
Amrish. Yeah, Amrish Puri. Yeah, Mola Ram. That would be crazy.
Yeah. So that's true. Spielberg was up for Fabelman's long shot, though. Despite the Golden Globe, it's going in, and the Fabelman's wasn't at the top. But yeah,
once you
it
do
could have
the
gone either
thing,
way to have a Harrison Ford moment with somebody legendary. But I think during the course of today, we'll show you how Harrison Ford was perhaps essential to every win
every
last night.
single one of them.
Now, every year I write an Oscar rant. I haven't had time the past couple of years. They're just way too long. I come up with my top 10 of the year. I do that every year, and I just posted that to themovieguys.net. You can find it here, but that's way too long. Basically, go to themovieguys.net, and it's right on the homepage, and you can see everything I picked for the top 10 of the year. And from there, I made my picks as to what would win. I didn't do that on because that's tougher. That's tougher for me. I like to talk about who should win.
Yeah.
But here were my films that made the top 10.
Okay.
I can't believe no one put Moon Age Daydream in their top 10 or Doctor Strange, but that's, of course, why all this shit is subjective.
Yeah. Moon
Where
Age
was
Daydream
Emily the
didn't.
Criminal last night? Come on. Anyway,
Yeah.
go check that out. And
However, what
Argument.
won, Paul, was this is the most radical film to win. What an insane film to win. Second film from these filmmakers.
yeah. And the first film, I believe, that was sci-fi.
First
To win.
sci-fi
First sci-fi film to win Best Picture, according
Wow.
to the news. And I trust and believe the news.
Well, to use Ebert's term, a disreputable genre, which he actually said about Spawn in a clip that came up of Siskel and Ebert recently, where he was defending Spawn, which is what I love about Roger Ebert. I don't know where he's coming from, but he's defending Spawn. I love that guy. I miss him. But disreputable genre is what Siskel called it, actually.
From the other, so that makes more sense. Yeah. From the other side of the aisle, the late Karen Volpe always said about Spawn, how can you die more?
That's a very good observation on Spawn. How
Isn't
can
he
you
dead?
die
You know, he's trying to survive, but how can you die more? Yeah. I think a movie recently brought that up too, to drive it home. But
now what's kind of interesting here. Okay, so Maddie's having a bit of fun, having a laugh. Maddie's having a laugh.
We're having a bit of fun.
Are you taking the piss?
Are you taking the piss?
However, he makes a good point here, because this was the year that something was going to save movies, right? We were all set up 2 years, no movies. For the first time since the invention of movies, there were no movies, which is insane. But and I remember we went to go see Jackass Forever. We ran to Coy Jandreau, and we're like, it feels so good to be back in a movie. That was the advertising campaign of it. It feels so good to laugh your ass off with your friends. Something was going to save us here. Top Gun certainly did its job, but in the end, it was Short Round in Indy hugging on stage that brought America back. It ended cynicism. It's done. Is anybody have a negative take on this? You know, there's always people that are paid to have negative takes on this thing. I don't think any of them had one.
Oh, I'll have a negative take on Jamie Lee Curtis.
They did. They did. How dare they?
Because Angela Bassett didn't win, which seemed preordained by the gods, and that did happen. So,
she was in a superhero movie. Sorry, but she killed it in that movie. I was shocked at how amazing she was in that movie.
First nomination for the MCU for acting. So
is it?
Yeah.
Jeez, disreputable genre.
Should have been yeah, exactly. Should have been at least the second after Chris Evans, who I would have nominated a long time ago. Yeah. But I'll say I put Bros in my top 10. You'll see it down there on the left. Because I always include the funniest movie of the year in my top 10, even if it's and Bros barely edged out Jackass Forever. Jackass Forever is hilarious. Bros is hilarious, and nobody saw it. So I also want to put it on there just to remind people, run over to Peacock, check that movie out. It is hilarious. Everyone went to Jackass, which is great. They should.
Yeah. Mom's here. Is the drug America craves. Legal drug. The legal drug that is everything everywhere all at once.
It's the film that will last longer than other Best Pictures. I mean, how many times do we have to put someone in the chat here on screen because they're going on and on about Nomadland?
Paul, you loved Coda last year, right? How many times have you watched it this year? Have you kind of?
I have not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. But Moonlight too. I mean, I've watched La La Land 400 times.
It's a masterpiece. Nobody's watching it again.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I have been because of some work I've been doing. I've been watching Schindler's List, which a lot of people will say, "Oh my gosh, you got to watch Schindler's List over and over." I got to tell you something, man. Get back on this Schindler's List. Go give
Twist
it
my
another
arm.
watch.
I will.
Yeah, because this Spielberg, the first half of that movie, obviously, look, the writing's on the wall. We know what's going to happen. And there's the slow progress of, first they're kicked out of their houses. Then they're, put to this. Then they're taken to the camps. And then, that you follow that whole thing. But Schindler as a character, what a great character. Like, you knew you were playing with house money in terms of emotions. It's the Holocaust. But for Spielberg to put all of that into Schindler, the character, the businessman, and getting laughs, it's funny, like the way he's manipulating people and then the way he's, hitting on the girls and that sort of stuff. I'm like, this is not just one of Spielberg's best movies because of the subject matter. This is just good Spielberg stuff here. I mean, the character interactions and that the way he directs, the same way he directs people in Jurassic Park or whatever. Yeah, that's Schindler's List, man. That's rewatchable. That is a rewatchable.
It's hard.
Movie.
It's a hard rewatch, but it's a great rewatch. And I think we also have to credit Steve Zalian a little bit too, right, for the script on that one.
Yeah, certainly
adapting a book, I think, right?
Yeah.
But extraordinary movie. I mean, I think it was no doubt about it. See, there you come in, and that's just beforehand it's going to win. Everything Everywhere All at Once was leading, but could it win? It was still a little drama as to whether it would last night.
But what an insane thing to win! Insane.
Yeah, 100% rewatchable. There you go. David saw it in the theater yesterday. I'm glad it's back there.
I bought it, and I intended to watch it before I left, and I had to go out of town because I lost a family member, and so luckily it's on my Apple TV, so Mom can access it at home, and so they got to watch it, which is good. But I still haven't seen it, but I own it, so I've done my part there.
All right, so let's just go through the categories, shall we? Or do you have anything else top you want to say, Adam?
Yeah, Schindler's Ark was the original. Was that the title of the book? Yeah, Schindler's Ark, I think. Yeah. No. Lead on with the show. We have clips. We have. It's the most exciting day, Paul. Short Round won an Oscar. That sounds like a joke a year ago. Remember when Short Round wins an Oscar?
And he thanked Chunk. I mean, come on.
He did thank Chunk. My God, that's incredible. Incredible.
From the stage, Chunk got a shout out at the Oscars. I can't tell you.
I never saw that coming.
Who would have thunk? Yeah. All right. So the first award they give out is Best Animated Film. I predicted Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and that won. It seemed like the most prestigious, the most involved, and perhaps the most impressive, just because of its of the nature of it being stop motion. But the other thing is, it reminded me, and so did Kimmel at the top of the show, that all these categories were in the show this year. Like, remember last year they were like, we're going to give out some of them and show you during the commercials that that they were giving away. Yes, I know Jeff got them. Jeff Cohen, right? Chunk,
he's a lawyer,
negotiated the contract for Quan to be in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But yeah, it was good to see it was good to see. I know I'm going broad strokes here again, but you talk about the land of cynicism. Was that the feel good Oscars of the year? I mean, it just was like you want to
most feel good Oscars of all time.
You want to rebound from the slap, but to rebound in such a flourish and to go so far in the other direction of absolute joy for movies. And I mean, the opening montage was great. Kimmel came out and deflated everyone's ego, which you got to do. And only Will Smith had a problem with jokes made at the millionaire's expense, but they have to be in order to tell everyone who's still out there cynical on the Oscars, who's like, knock everybody down a peg and you just have a good night. And if you're not celebrating the arts, why are we even a country? What are we going to?
You're embarrassing me. Eat it.
And so that's why I will never blow anybody else for cocaine.
You're insulting them and you're embarrassing me.
I think that was your line once. But the point is, what are we going to do? Have a 3.5 hour celebration of the Pentagon? Fuck no. Movies. That's where we celebrate. And that was brought back in glorious fashion last night. Anyway, there's another overall rant.
And also, let's just say before we get into the categories too, well produced. I don't know if it's someone different from last year. Obviously, the last couple of years have been weird. There was the Soderbergh Oscars, which I loved because you're like, look, we got to pivot. We can't do the traditional thing. Let's try this. But this one was just so effortless.
It really was.
It just moved, and I loved how they did like 5 categories in a row. Boom, boom, boom. First half hour, we already have 5 Oscars before we had a single like pause, either for a song or a Best Picture presentation. That was brilliant. That was great. And then Jimmy Kimmel disappeared for 45 minutes. I love the guy, but that's very welcome for a host. Like, yeah, disappear for a bit. Let's go movies, and then you come back and
come back to the interviews in the audience, to the donkey bit, to the all that, and then, or one time he was getting room tone. I thought that was funny.
That was funny.
So,
that was very good. I like that insider.
Quick bits and get on. Yeah.
Yeah, but boom, boom, boom. We're moving. We got no time.
No time for love.
We got no time for love in the show. We're going.
And then there was the years when like it came to Best Actor, and you had like an actor who would work with each of the nominees on stage, and each one said something about that nominee, and I loved all the. But boy, did that seem like too much self-love, for actors, because it was like Colin Farrell getting up there going, Jeremy Renner in the Hurt Locker. Remember, we were in SWAT together. I'm like, just stop this. Okay, you were in SWAT. That's great. But come on, let this. And they went up, your focus and your attend. They're just talking about that. It's okay, we got it. He's nominated.
And I appreciate the experiment there. Those are all like, well, never done anything like this before, but only mildly successful. This one didn't try anything radical except for like going 5 deep before they took a break. And also bringing people on stage to advertise a movie that was a commercial coming up. Anyway, we'll get into that later.
Oh, ABC. Ouch.
So weird.
So anyway, I think I'll admit I've seen most everything. I've only seen 3 of the animated film nominees.
Paul.
How about you? Have you seen any of the animated films?
Paul, I saw The Fabelmans, and I saw Top Gun.
Okay.
And
you don't have to spill everything before our crowd. You didn't see all the animated movies, is what you're saying.
No, I didn't see all the animated. I didn't see the documentary shorts. I didn't go completist on that. I also may not have seen most of the Best Picture nominees.
One of the great things about LA is you can go to. I mean, I know they tour around and show the shorts in theaters, but here they'll show them at the Academy. Man, I couldn't get to it. But
Well, next year I'm just going to grab onto the back of your jacket at the beginning of Oscar season, and wherever you go, I'm like, just show me stuff, because I get behind, and I love the tradition of the week before, because this is just how it's just ended up being for me, that I go see everything as much as I can the week before. And I always have a tradition the day of the Oscars, I go see like the last one that I haven't seen that's still out there or whatever. What's hilarious is this year I was out of town. We had a family member pass away, my grandpa. And so I wasn't able to do any of that. I'm traveling. I'm doing this and this. I'm like, so I was just like, oh, forget it this year. What am I going to do? I bought everything everywhere. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch it on the plane. I'm like, I ain't watching that on my phone on the plane.
You're not.
I ain't doing it. I'm going to wait. Yeah. And but what's so funny is I still saw a movie the day of the Oscars, but it was with my stepmom, and it was Cocaine Bear. So I did get out to see a movie the day of the Oscars in my tradition, but it was a much funnier choice. And although made an appearance at the Oscars.
Great though, right? Movie. The Cocaine Bear. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Somehow it I may have said this already. Forgive me, but I arrived at a summation that I really agree with. It's funny but not trashy, and it's gory but not ugly. Like it manages to thread that line where it's just fun.
It fulfills the premise of its title, which is more than I could say for the original Suicide Squad
or Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. They never attack. Yeah.
But back to the animated films.
Back to the animated films. This is the first one.
David McKay only saw Puss in Boots too, but for me, that was the best.
I've heard that movie.
Not having seen Pinocchio, but I can tell you the story of Pinocchio has been run through the mill 100,000 times. I would have to really work to enjoy it. But I saw that tweet. But then someone else said, no, he's on stage with Kimmel now when the ass came out. But So anyway, Puss in Boots 2 was straight hilarious. Antonio, nothing funnier than the over gravitas of Antonio Banderas.
Oh, that
Just
voice.
hilarious. As Puss in Boots. It's just too funny.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my favorite. Pinocchio. I'd be curious to see if that would take over the number one spot for me of animated films. But and Marcel the Show. This is a great list of nominees as far as I'm concerned. Turning Red is fantastic. Buried and Disney Plus was unfair to that movie that should have had audiences going nuts for Four Town, the fake boy band group, and everything. It was really funny.
Should have
And
been in theaters.
The final scene is this huge stadium spectacle with giant bears and stuff. It should have been in the big screen. And then Marcel the Shell with shoes on was fantastic. So strong set of nominees. I did love Puss in Boots. The Last Wish, though, I thought it was great. All
That
right.
wasn't nominated. Did that come out in time for consideration?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I thought
It was.
no one was watching it because it got buried under all these other movies, but it kind of hung on at like the number 3 spot at the box office, or then maybe 4, then 3, then 3. So never number 1. So it never was sweeping the nation. But I
But
think
it probably made a lot of money because
I think it made like 350 million.
yeah, if
quietly.
you hang in second and third place for like 5 weeks, you've made serious bank. You know,
Yeah,
that
like
always-
well into the end of January, I think it was still up towards the top. So it was great.
But Paul, I have to say, you know, we're doing the Ford Fiesta Live here. I know you want to do your Oscar thing. Unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of the nominees this year. I do have to ask, Paul, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? This the best animated picture.
Oh, that's a fair question. Well, I've done my research, and it turns out that you're asking me. I thought you were going to cover these. All right.
I'll do this. All right.
Yeah, you cover these. I'll do.
Okay.
I'll do the. I've seen this stuff. You
Paul,
do the goofy shit.
Let me rephrase this. One might ask oneself, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? Well,
What does this have to do with Harrison Ford?
Is Kate Blanchett not in Pinocchio?
Oh yeah, she does do a voice.
She does do a voice, and she's in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. There we go. Connected to Harrison Ford. There we go.
You think that he may have had some influence on her to continue acting, perhaps? And
I'm just
then
saying,
end up in this.
There's a Ford theme this year, and there you go. You can even connect Pinocchio back to Harrison Ford. Kate Blanchett does a voice in it, and she is in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Good old Tar herself.
Good old Lydia Tar. Cocaine Tar. Then next up, supporting actor, the moment of the night. All right, look, this was the only lock of the night. I thought there might have been a couple others close. This was a for sure, no questions asked. Quan was going to win. Ke Huy Quan was going to win, and he did.
Wow.
So the prediction and everything was great. And what a moment!
Yeah, and I have to ask you, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? Never mind.
And the Oscar goes to Ke Huy Quan.
My mom is 84 years old, and she's at home watching. Mom, I just want an Oscar.
So genuine.
Totally. Throughout
I
this
mean-
whole award season, you know.
Oh my gosh, everybody can just and then his message here too. It's like,
Year after year for 20 years, told me that one day, my time will come. Dreams are something you have to believe in. I almost gave up on mine. To all of you out there, please keep your dreams alive.
and that ain't bullshit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
God. Everybody knows nothing phony about that for 2 seconds.
No, and
Man.
I was gonna start throwing stuff if they didn't all stand up, but at least they got standing ovation for the
Yeah.
that guy. It was a great. You might be asking yourself, "Oh no, we all know how this ties in Harrison Ford." All right.
How's this connected to? Astonishingly well connected to the Harrison Ford universe in a way that we could have never predicted. In fact, I'm giving us credit. I just think we put something out in the universe that anything surrounding Harrison Ford, it's a time for healing in this country, and Harrison Ford's doing it. Anybody connected to him? Ke Huy Quan. Oh my gosh, incredible.
Let's get on to supporting actress then.
Okay.
I would like to say I'd like to shout out quickly to Ben Aldridge, who was in the movie Spoiler Alert with Jim Parsons.
Okay.
I look at
Didn't
the
know
Oscar
that one.
nominees for supporting actor, and it's interesting that Brian Tyree Henry got in there for Causeway, an Apple TV Plus movie. That was an interesting sort of take. And if you're going to reach like that, I thought Ben Aldridge in Spoiler Alert was fantastic. He ended up in Knock at the Cabin playing what's his name's husband. What is his name? The guy, the guy. Anyway.
Drax or not Drax?
Jonathan Groff. Jonathan
yeah.
Groff's Drax. No, yeah, Drax. Anyway.
He's the guy. He's the one.
I sound
who
like
knocks.
you doing the schmoedown. Yeah, all right.
Get there eventually.
All right, so let's get supporting actress. So you had Angela Bassett, Hong Chow, Carrie Condon, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And your winner was Jamie Lee.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my God.
I did not predict this. I predicted Angela Bassett would win, but they went with
did.
Jamie Lee Curtis, which is a bolder move. And I think what kind
It's
of
a more feel good move.
Yeah. Well, based on
Who doesn't love her?
Based on Angela Bassett's sour puss, not standing, but not clapping.
I know.
And not smiling when Jamie Lee Curtis won.
Still in character.
Yeah, take it easy.
Her son died and her nation has fallen.
And now she lost the Oscar. So
I gotta say though, let's just put a little something out there for Angela Bassett. Obviously, one of our great actors of all time. In Wakanda Forever, I was not prepared for how much she was just going for it with that performance. Oh, that's one of the movies I saw at the Oscars. Of course, there's superheroes in it. I did see Wakanda Forever, and it has Prince Namor in it. Oof, never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. But I guess the big question here is, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford, Paul? But I think I can connect it.
Okay.
So, for example, if Ford hadn't helped make Star Wars the hit it was, then the Buck Rogers TV show probably would have never been made in 1979, giving Jamie Lee Curtis work on 2 episodes, which no doubt sparked her interest in sci-fi, which culminated in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So yeah, she's probably like, I'm just gonna, do horror, and then lo and behold, she's in this.
She's like, sci-fi. Thank God for Harrison Ford. There's now opportunities for actors like me who might have had a bit of a lull. I'm going to go and do some Buck Rogers, a show I never missed, by the way. But I had to go to Mom's bedroom to watch it because Mom wasn't watching that shit. Go to the black and white TV.
I wish the film Wakanda Forever did more for me. I predicted Bassett, but I wanted Curtis as well. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is a better movie. And I think they lean towards the acting in that film for 3 of the major categories because they've just watched the actors play 5, 6, 8 versions of their character in the film and probably just thought that was more impressive.
Wow,
that is. So there you go.
But they usually don't recognize that sort of stuff, like that sort of like how tough that is. Well, for example, Avengers Endgame, one of the hardest films to make in the history of mankind, and that wasn't nominated either, was it?
Yeah. Nope. See? So, Chris Evans in Civil War. That's the lost Academy Award nomination that should have been. But then we move on.
Personify Captain America, and he did it.
I mean, right? Without being a joke.
Yeah.
Crazy. Then Best Cinematography was given out. So they got right to 2 big ones, and they could lapse into their technical awards a little bit. And your winner was All Quiet on the Western Front, which I wanted, but I predicted Elvis and was happy to be wrong. Because first of all, I think Elvis is a terrible movie. Baz Luhrmann.
It's okay, right? Yeah.
It's terrible. No, it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can always give a pass. But Luhrmann brings the same nonsense, the same visual noise to every movie he makes, whether the material requires it or not. Australia didn't require that. Great Gatsby didn't require that. Moulin Rouge, yeah, it's its own unique sort of thing. Romeo and Juliet, yes, you wanted to show that it was urgent and vital and of this era, but man, all his spinning camera and CGI noise with hip hop music and stuff, none of that did it for me in Elvis.
Well, if you're going to appreciate a movie that does that, you're going to go everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah,
for crazy camera work.
Yeah, but and
this marks the first time Elvis hasn't won an Oscar since Clambake.
He was best actor. So Elvis won the
Not even
award.
nominated.
Elvis won the award for the from the union members, and so I thought that film was headed to the Oscar here, but they turned and went with All Quiet on the Western Front. The other thing is they also took a pivot from giving it to the first woman, I think, this was the first woman who won the Guild Award, who shot Elvis, and now it went to another man in All Quiet on the Western Front, which I think is just a better movie and less annoyingly shot. God, All Quiet on the Western Front is gorgeous movie. I mean, for all the bloody, nasty stuff in it, man, it is shot within an inch of its life. It looks great.
Now, 1917 obviously lauded for its cinematography as well. Nobody can beat Roger Deakins, so he did his in one take. But anyway, like, cause it's Roger Deakins. But when I saw the behind the scenes, I haven't seen All Quiet on the Western Front. How does it compare to 1917? And obviously without the big stunt of being a one take movie.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's grimmer.
Yeah.
It's more color. There's a lot of
Academy
like,
loves World War One.
Blue, dark gray, stuff like that in there. So yeah, it's less kinetic, but it's definitely you are there. And I've described it as the opening of Saving Private Ryan for 2.5 hours.
Oh, see, I wanted to see it in the theater. I wonder if it's still out there in theaters. It really would be a good one to not just watch in my living room, because I've heard so much good stuff. But of course, the question, Paul, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford?
All Quiet on the Western Front winning best cinematography? Nothing? Probably, right?
Well, I mean, look, obviously it's us beating up the Germans. This is something that we've learned from Indiana Jones. Beating up Germans is basically an American pastime here. If you're going to sell something like this to Netflix, you're going to beat up some Germans. And I think that's the influence of Indiana Jones. Even coming up with the Dial of Destiny. What is he doing in the trailer? Beating up a bunch of Germans. Beating up a Germans, American pastime. That's why this one caught on, I think. And it's I think it owes a lot to Indiana Jones in terms of wanting to watch Germans get beat up.
I think my sheet went all crazy. Am I out of order on these wacky things we're doing? Anyway.
And when you find that, I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
You're going to get a cup of coffee in the middle of the show.
Look, I brewed a pot of coffee. I can smell it. I forgot to grab it before we started the show.
Okay, so anyway, let me continue on with what I wanted to talk about with cinematography. Every year you can nominate a ton of different movies for cinematography. That's one of the things that a movie can achieve, even if the rest of the movie is crap. So you could have nominated The Woman King, a movie that was otherwise shut out of all the Oscars. Could have nominated The Fabelmans. Could have nominated The Northman. The Northman! Is there a better looking movie? Did anyone imagine that movie would end with a naked sword fight in a volcano? And it looked great. No, you didn't. Don't tell me you did. And of course, Babylon. But the thing about the previously mentioned Roger Deakins is that Empire of Light is a sort of rudimentary Sam Mendes movie. It's not particularly special. So it doesn't get nominated for anything except Roger Deakins' cinematography. That's how good he is, that he got that film into the Oscars all by himself. And it is probably the most memorable thing of that movie. God, Deakins is just top notch. So anyway, all right. Let me, you added me back. You got coffee?
I'm back, Mr. Luthor. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, boy, I already went off the path of what is. I know what it was.
I came in. You're talking about Roger Deakins. Was he nominated this year? What were you
for Empire of Light? Yeah.
Oh.
And if you haven't heard of it, it's because it wasn't nominated for anything else. That's how good he is.
Right.
Go back and watch the thing later. I do a little rant on it.
Okay. Right.
Best documentary. This is one place where I was significantly underversed. I only saw one of them. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, about the photographer who becomes famous for a lot of installations in the 80s and 90s.
It's got a great title.
That are, she ends up in being one of the people protesting against the Sackler family. And I'd just seen Dope Sick. So the Sackler family is all the ones behind OxyContin who just lied about how addictive it was, and like 400,000 people died, and they made a ton of money, and they're absolutely complete assholes. And so, rough, good documentary. little wonky about how it tied her past into her present,
Yeah,
but that's the only one I saw, so I didn't have a lot to say about it. But Navalny won, Adam,
right.
which of course has nothing to do with Harrison Ford.
Has nothing to do with Harrison Ford. However,
Oh yeah,
and obviously it's a powerful topic. But when I think of Russians, well, I mean, the first thing I think of when I think of Russians and performances as Russians is, of course, Harrison Ford from K-19, The Widowmaker. So I
Is that
feel like
the
just
James Belushi and a dog. What is that?
no. That would be
Oh, there he is. Okay, yeah, you're right.
See, you want a trip to Russia, you want to feel like you're in Russia, you watch a little K-19, The Widowmaker, just like Navalny, put you right in that, put you right into Russia.
It's the same. They're practically the same movie. So we're not
Practically the
surprised
same.
since K-19 won all the Oscars when that came out that Navalny
course.
won today. All right, great. So
Well, it
that's-
is by an Oscar-winning director, K-19, The Widowmaker, just so you know.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we had Makeup and Hair. You had All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. And The Whale won. Now, and I predicted it would win. The only thing I thought might keep it from that is wondering how much CGI was actually employed in the use of turning Brendan Fraser into a giant, just 500-600 pound person.
Yeah.
But they must have done mostly practical effects because that ended up winning, and rightfully so. Great movie. I can't think of much else that was out there that could be nominated. It's a strong category. And what's weird is sometimes they nominate like 3 movies in this category, which is always weird. There's room for 5. Nominate 5, and so the Batman for sure. Colin Farrell's looking, that was incredible. And Elvis with all the period stuff. Black Panther, same as the first one, looked great. And All Quiet, just basically putting mud on people in the no man's land.
But it's always the most respectable one. So if you got some superhero movie which always has more complex prosthetics, horror movies have more complex prosthetics than these movies. It's always the most respectable one that also has prosthetics that gets the hair and makeup, sort of thing. If you see some superhero and it's like even better makeup, doesn't matter. You got to give it to the respectable one.
Yeah. And then speaking of which, how great was going back a sec to Jamie Lee Curtis's speech when she said, to that horror genre that they always leave out, we just won an Oscar. That's true. We didn't see.
I forgot she said that. Disreputable genre.
You didn't see a Mia Goth nomination, for example, because a lot of people thought she would be nominated for X and or Pearl or both. And so
disreputable genre.
Yeah. All right.
Those can't be good movies. Comedies can't be good movies, Paul. Horror movies can't be good movies, Paul. There's no filmmaking going on in those movies. What, are you kidding me? They don't have to know the craft of filmmaking to get you to be scared or shocked or make you laugh. No,
that's why I put comedy right there, bros.
Yep, bros. Well, bros too, with the because they like to have a lot of diversity in these nominations as well. They've gotten way better at it. I mean, my goodness, look at these nominations. But Bros, obviously, this is a story of gay men and that sort of thing. So you would think that would have maybe made it in there. But again, it's a comedy, so it's not. But yeah, prosthetic makeup. So this is makeup designer Adrian Moreau.
Yeah, for The Whale, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the question, of course, I have to ask is, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? We're here on the Ford Fiesta. However, I'm reading right here. She was a makeup effects department head on the Amazon.
But it's fine.
Huh?
But it's fine.
Adrian?
Yeah. Adrian.
I've seen Rocky. I'm pretty sure that's a girl's name. Anyway, Adrian. She was also a makeup effects department head on Amazon Prime series Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Harrison Ford played Jack Ryan. There you go.
That's how you win.
It's all coming up Ford. It's all coming up Ford here.
I mean, he's probably going, thank God I got on that Jack Ryan show so I could be in this position today to win an Academy Award.
Right. So, nice try.
Nice try, Lao Shay.
This might be true. Suicide Squad won an Oscar for Best Makeup. That does happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's fantasy. That's what's supposed to win. That's what used to piss me off when I was a kid. It'd be all these great fantasy things, and then they give it to the wigs from some, British, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Great wigs. Sorry, it beat Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's 800 characters in makeup.
Well, you
or
should.
whatever.
It's funny you should say that because next up is costumes, and I always said that about costumes. Like, why do modern costume movies never win? Like, Wall Street should have won for those costumes, those
Okay.
suspenders and shirts with the
Yeah.
collars and the cufflinks and the whole
It's
thing.
iconic.
It's iconic, and the
Yeah.
hair. Yeah, well, that's makeup, but the costumes all I thought really worked. But if that always goes to fantasy and a flip of what you're just talking about, and it happened again. This went to the hell did it go to? Who won this one? Oh, Wakanda Forever. So Ruth Lee Cup
Oh, that's awesome.
winning, being the first woman to win black woman to win 2 Academy Awards.
So she won for this and Black Panther.
The original, yeah. Which is why I didn't
Wow,
think they'd
that's
go for
great.
this. I thought for sure Elvis was going to win this category. I thought for sure they said, well, it's kind of the same as it was before, but I guess if it was good before, it's good again. So they gave it to thing. And I'm just thrilled that Elvis didn't win.
Yeah.
I don't want to be so negative, but that movie was bad.
Well, and also those costumes were created by him in life, and you're kind of imitating those. I know they're spectacular and they're amazing, and you have to do all of them in order to make a movie. And he did dress like a superhero. I get it, but you look at the Namor and the Atlanteans, and that. Oh man, they went up a notch for costuming for this. Ruth
true.
Carter, you said, was a costume designer.
Yeah, why?
Well, I mean, just. The question, of course, I have to ask is, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? We're here on the Ford Fiesta. But did you know, Paul, that Ruth Carter was also a costume designer on Amistad, directed by Steven Spielberg, frequent collaborator of Harrison Ford and Quan.
Oh, so I see. That's how she got to be in line for such accolades.
She's got a little of the Ford juice on her, he's just rubbing off all over the place. It's to meet the man. I'm going to take back what was once said about Tom Cruise, that meeting that man is like a 2-week cleanse. Who said that on our show? That was
Ron Babcock.
Ron Babcock.
Yeah,
Oh, we just got to have him back. I miss Ron Babcock. But I think Harrison Ford is also like meeting that man is like a 2-week cleanse, 2-week juice cleanse.
Yeah.
So Ruth Carter. Still cruising.
May not be his energy that puts you there like Cruise would, but you will just drain of all bad energy, I think, and feel better.
Yeah.
Next, we go to production design. Now, this is when All Quiet on the Western Front is on a roll. So if you haven't seen it, get out there and see it. It's fantastic. Or it's on Netflix.
Think for a second,
it's small, but
did you think for a second they're like, oh, this is All Quiet's year, like it's going to win everything, because this is such a classic Oscar Best Picture. It's a historical epic. It's all the true story, all that sort of stuff. It's such a classic Oscar type winner, whereas Everything Everywhere, nothing like that's ever come out in theaters, much less been nominated, much less won anything. So I thought for a second there, I was like, oh man, All Quiet might be taken this year. It'd be really boring, but it'd be classic Oscars, I would think.
Well, actually, I should bring up, before production design, All Quiet on the Western Front won Best International Film, at which point I said, now it will not win Best Picture.
You were correct.
Yeah, just like Roma, just like Life is Beautiful. You win that and you're out for the other one. But you feel good because you won an Oscar. I mean, 4 Oscars for All Quiet on the Western Front. It's like, a Netflix thing. Yeah, but
it's huge.
That was quite a number for, do I have my totals? We have totals here somewhere of the movies. So yeah, it's 7 Oscars for. I don't know where I put half my crap here.
That's okay. Because the question, Paul, you can bring up your stats in a second here, but you know what I'm asking myself here?
No, Adam, no way Best International Film has anything to do with Harrison Ford.
Oh, wait. Best International Film, it takes place during World War One. And when you think of World War One, you of course think of its sequel. I like sequels. Paul, you like a sequel. We like a trilogy. But when I think of World War Two, I kind of think of Hanover Street. And so, and when I think of Vietnam, I think of heroes.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So I think in order to get out from under the shadow of those masterpieces, Germany decided to make a movie about World War One.
Ah, right.
See?
Yeah.
See? So it's just got to look at the Hanover Street and heroes vibe, that war thing. I think it just, it's got a little Harrison Ford on it there. That's as close as I can get. I don't know.
So it's 7 Oscars for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
She's very big.
4 for All Quiet on the 2 for The Whale. Everything else that won that night won. And it was interesting that none of the other films, except for Everything Everywhere All at Once, that were nominated for Best Director won any Oscars. So that's
Wait, repeat that stat.
I was going to bring it up for Best Director, but for Best Director, Daniels, Spielberg, Ostland for Triangle of Sadness, McDonough, I think. No, who were the other ones? McDonough for Banshees and Todd Field for Tar. Banshees, Fabelmans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness, shut out for the night. Like that never happens. Like a Best Director nomination usually ensures that you'll win. Your movie's good enough to win something that night. But then when All Quiet on the Western Front started running the table, then Everything Everywhere All at Once started running the table. There was no room for anybody else. So
everything everywhere on the Western Front. I think you combine the two into a really one spectacular movie.
Yeah, well, that's just a different timeline. Where she goes back to World War I.
You know what I love about that? Look, Tar, I haven't seen it. All right. First of all, you got a pretentious accent in it. I don't know. Is it R? I mean, how is it pronounced in the native tongue? I don't know. But this looks like your classic. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. And I even said this about last year about what was the one with Doctor Strange directed by the piano?
Oh, Power of the Dog.
Thank you. Paul Speaks Adam. Yeah. And this is how granddad Adam talks about movies and will forever. But I said classic boring Oscar movie, and I saw it. I love that. I love that movie. That one I would watch again. But Tar seems like your classic boring Oscar movie. The one that if I was a kid, I'd be like, oh come on, don't give Tar everything. If this was 1985, Tar would have swept, right? And I think the same thing with Elvis, like this, like sort of classic biopic. I love that this Oscars was like, I'm done with it. None of that, out of here. And just really like cut them off. Like no more of that crap in the Oscars. We're the new Oscars now. It seemed like a definitive statement of like, enough with your Tar. Okay. We get it. You get nominated. You're a very serious movie, but we're going to go somewhere more fun.
Well, Tar was my favorite film of the year, but anyway,
was it? I'm excited to watch it, and I love boring movies, but they are a genre.
Well, and I only saw it once, and I'm told in the second viewing, you will have an even more haunting experience. Like maybe the stuff you saw isn't even real. It's like Lydia Tar is the most challenging, complicated, awful, brilliant character I've seen perhaps ever in the movies. I hate her. I love her. I think she's a victim. She's a monster. She's all these things. And it all boggles your mind as you sit there and try and figure out what the hell's going on with this character. And throughout, it is mesmerizing. So,
yeah. And
but I have to get behind your point that it does seem that if it was earlier, and they weren't trying to rebound from Oscars Too White and the slap and all that, they would have gone the direction of a movie like Tar and pat themselves in the back, but they went for what they went for to sort of be an affront to that.
It seems like a definitive statement on that sort of thing, but yeah, I'm excited to see Tar because I love a classic Oscar movie, and I call them boring, but that's like the type of movie.
Yeah,
Power of the Dog's boring, but it's amazing.
Well, I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was so not boring that it wouldn't win.
100%. That's exactly usually how it goes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's production design, All Quiet on the Western Front. I predicted The Way of Water because just designing that whole world is like from scratch. But All Quiet on the Western Front is tragically realistic, so they deserve that award.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it ties into Harrison Ford in any way.
I'm struggling to think, but because I think all of this has got to tie. I mean, obviously, it's the theme of the show. I think All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, this is Christian Goldbeck, right? This is the
correct
production designer.
Yeah.
I have some of my stats here. Now I'm seeing here. I think I can connect this, Paul. Hold on.
Okay.
He was born in 1974, which is the year The Conversation came out.
Oh, with Harrison Ford.
So I just think there was something put out in the universe that luck followed him to this very moment. I would give a little bit of credit to Harrison Ford on that beautiful red couch in The Conversation and the nice Christmas cookies that
I
he
was
offered
not
Gene Hackman.
born. Yeah, I was not born on that year, and here I am in my, my office.
There's something to be said for being born the same year as The Godfather as well. Not as much Harrison Ford on me, but anyway.
All right, so then we get on to score. You got, Rogues Gallery. You got John Williams in there. You got Justin Hurwitz, who previously won for La La Land. I was rooting for Babylon. I just wanted to see Damien Chazelle's streak keep going. Every movie he's made,
Yep.
he won 3 for Whiplash, 6 for La La Land, and 1 for First Man for visual effects. And I would love to have seen Babylon take something. It got shut out in the only 3 nominations it had. I didn't love that movie quite. You know how I love La La Land. I didn't love Babylon quite as much.
No.
But
I'm so excited to see
nominated
Babylon.
for it. It had a shot. Hurwitz's score, as you can imagine, just jazz packed, and it's crazy. And the other things were, I think, the production design as well, which it didn't win. So it went to All Quiet on the Western Front. Once again, the streak seems to be happening. But again, that International Film Award made me go, won't win Best Picture.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if John Williams had won, but as much as I love John Williams, it's one of his lesser scores. I feel it's perhaps because of he's not going to be bombastic in that. He's, it's going to be one of the more subtle John Williams scores. But I thought might be a tough go against some of the others this year. Obviously, I could connect John Williams to Harrison Ford, but I have to ask the question: what does Volker Bertelmann?
The composer for All Quiet on the Western Front.
The composer for All Quiet on the Western Front. So I think, he, at the end of his speech, he thanked all of you.
Oh, yes. He went, all of you in the room. Thank you.
And you know who was in that room?
Who?
Harrison Ford.
See, he must have had something to do with this win. Yeah, we don't know what it is.
I'm just saying the guy felt the greatness there, didn't want to pass him up. He wanted to thank Harrison Ford. You couldn't just go, I'd like to thank Harrison Ford. You go, why? Because that'd be weird. But we all want to because he's the king. So he just thanked the room, which included a lot of other people and that woman with her big hat. But
mostly Harrison Ford. Yeah, the one woman who looked like a ghost. Then we go on
that woman with the big hat better not have been sitting in front of Harrison Ford. I didn't see who she was blocking out, but that was a Warner Brothers skit of a hat, wasn't it? Is that the one that Bugs Bunny wears when he sits in front of Yosemite Sam? Right? I think.
Yeah, boy, if I was behind her, I would have been pissed. Then we get on to visual effects. No surprise here. I predicted The Way of Water. It won. It's hard to make a case against it winning.
How could that not win visual effects? That would be such a fuck you if that didn't win. Like, no, and we're giving it to this European movie with 4 visual effects. Yeah, no, it's.
Other nominees included All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther, and Top Gun Maverick. But the strange omission to me was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, a movie I absolutely loved. But Sam Raimi said, let's pull out all the stops, and the special effects team stepped up. I mean, that movie's nuts with special effects. But
it's a superhero movie, Paul, and that's a disreputable genre.
Well, then how about Everything Everywhere All at Once? Your Best Picture winner, not nominated here to run through all those dimensions and timelines and have an everything bagel. I mean, I thought for sure there would be something in that, but A Way of Water, again, can't deny it, except for how it might tie into Harrison Ford.
Oh, A Way of Water with Sigourney Weaver from Working Girl? I think I can connect the two, okay? I think I can connect the two. Harrison Ford, Working Girl, Sigourney Weaver. Boom. There we go.
Interesting. Well, then next up we had Best Original Script. Todd Field, Kushner and Spielberg, Everything Everywhere All at Once, McDonough, and Ruben Östlund. Coming into this, I predicted McDonough. I would have thought he was the 3rd biggest lock of the night. Quan number 1, Sarah Polley number 2, probably. And I thought for sure, because they were just winning all the pre-Oscar awards. Sarah Polley for adapted, and Martin McDonough for original script. But no, it went to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's the most writery movie, right? Super writery. It's like there's some real writing going on here, and we're gonna let you know. That's why that one, should really have gotten it right.
Which one? Banshees? Yeah. I mean, it is a pared down,
super writery.
Yeah, pared down, very specific story of complicated relationships, and that's when things went from All Quiet on the Western Front, started switching to Everything Everywhere All at Once. You could see the rounds start to come on.
Yeah, just like
and would win it, but McDonough's won before, and what I didn't realize was McDonough also won a short film Oscar. Years ago. Yeah, you find that stuff out sometimes if you look
Did
around.
McDonough write In Bruges? Because this was the reuniting of, and I haven't seen Banshees of Inisherin, but my number one reason I'd want to see it is go, oh, it's the two guys from In Bruges, and I loved In Bruges.
Well, let
Is
me
that
tell you, this guy
McDonough?
hasn't made a bad movie. In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, Three
Oh,
Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and
right.
the Banshees of Inisherin. It,
Oh.
you go long enough, you can't bat 1,000 anymore. Even Alexander Payne made Downsizing, or whatever.
But you love when a director gets on a tear and you're like, second good movie, third good movie, fourth classic. You're like, come on.
and McDonough hasn't made a bad one, in my opinion. So I was shocked that he didn't win, but you can't argue with Everything Everywhere All at Once. The ideas in that movie are redonkulous. So
Yeah. And how do you make that script be a script and not just a bunch of ideas vomited? We've seen that movie and it just never comes together in the end. And I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, but knowing the premise and the way people have received it, I'm like, it sticks the landing clearly from the way people are talking about it. And that's what I'm so excited to see, is that it clearly sticks the landing on this premise in a very satisfying way. And you could tell from people's reactions to it.
that's the comment I always use on it. It's considering how far they take it. It's like, okay, now this isn't introduced. Now this is introduced. Here's another timeline. Here's these characters. How are you going to possibly, boom, 10, like they stick it. It's crazy.
I call them high wire act movies where
Yeah.
you're just like, how long can they keep this going? Because they have that bomber first act where you're just like, whoa, they are just laying it out there. But how are you going to keep this going? You're just going to fall apart from the weight of your own gravity of creating such a great, premise. And from what I've heard, this one does. And how, but the question I guess would be, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford?
Yeah, nothing, I imagine, right?
Paul, one thing I really hate is these movies with one-word titles. It's become a plain epidemic. It is. I just saw 3 trailers before Cocaine Bear, and they were increasingly smaller words. They're single word titles, and now we're down to like 3 letters, I think, on some of these things. So I gotta say, I love a title like in the middle of all this, like this epidemic of single word movies, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It kind of puts me in the mind of the other great long titles. Say what you will, but it's a great title. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That is a bunch of words. That's a great title. That's everything plain is not. And so I think the courage to call your movie something like that, comes from a Harrison Ford, a Lucasfilm, a Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. These are great titles.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. I see. Yeah,
Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? So I think that courage, and they're like, you know what? We're going to be like our man Ford. We're not going to call this movie Timeline or Oops or, whatever, but instead
Plain.
they went with,
Yeah.
Plain. Right. Nice try.
Nice try, Loud.
All right, so we got adapted script right after that. No, you can't really change much here. And in the adaptation, the book is called Women Talking. The film is called Women Talking, and it won. And I predicted it with all the pre-Oscar awards that it took. So,
and that's cool. Indie darling Sarah Polley. She has been in every phase of like indie film. She was in Go, right, which launched who's the director? Well, it's the second film by
Doug Liman.
Doug Liman, but it's the first script, I think, by the guy that would go on to frequently collaborate with Tim Burton. I'm forgetting his name right now. It's a great podcast I listen to, but I can't remember his name. Yeah. So, and then, and I'm a fan of Hal Hartley. She's in No Such Thing.
She's in the Adam Egoyan films, at least.
And she's in the Adam Egoyan film. I mean, talk about your 90s, like, the fact that a cast member from Adam Egoyan films is now winning, that's just awesome.
But why do I know her? The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So
right. That's like her first role or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam. Yeah.
I think they mentioned last night when she won that, they say facts while the person's walking the stage. She did a TV show, I think, before that. But that had to be her first film. She was very young. And that movie's great. But I want to shout out The Whale. I was surprised didn't get a nomination. That's adapted from a play. So much like Women Talking, it's kind of a one location thing. So it's all about dialogue and script. And so you'd think to write that. It would come to the director, I think, to make you not feel claustrophobic unless you're supposed to in one location, but it would be up to the scriptwriter to make sure the dialogue maintains your attention. And The Whale certainly does that. And Women Talking does that as well, considering it doesn't get off the farm where all the women are trying to figure out what to do with their lives. So,
Interesting.
but then the great inclusion here was to give a nomination to Top Gun Maverick, because what a setup for fail the idea of making a Top Gun sequel is. And to pull that off, they could
Good
lean
luck.
into nostalgia too hard. They
Yeah.
could disregard the character arcs and how they would logistically go up till now. Instead, they again lean into this is adult now. They're dealing with serious things, and then you got the acting scene of the year with Maverick and Ice. I mean, so I
Yeah.
was happy they received that nomination, even though they didn't win.
Yeah, and really that's quite a feat, man. I mean, because even now, after Top Gun was announced when Top Gun 2 was announced when Tony Scott was alive. That's how long this has been going. Tony Scott dies very tragically, and then of course it goes away. Tom Cruise forges this relationship with the great Chris McQuarrie, friend of the show. I don't know. I hung out with him once, but anyway, great guy. Love Chris McQuarrie.
We know his composer for Jack Reacher. So there you go. That's like we're best friends.
We do. Great composer.
Yeah.
But so and then Top Gun starts to get made again, and I have to say, oh yeah, that's right,
Joe
yeah,
Kramer.
it is Joe Kramer. Gosh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then Joe Kramer did a Mission Impossible too, right? Didn't
Rogue
Kramer
Nation.
do?
Yeah. Rogue Nation.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Anyway,
great score.
continue.
Anyway, the point is, even now, and okay, so Top Gun Maverick gets made, and there's a pandemic. It can't be released in theaters. Is it going to go to streaming? And That's the whole story of Top Gun, how it saved movies and everything like that. Stuck to their guns, put it in theaters. #1 movie of the year. What is it in the all-time top 10 box office? It's up there, right? Yeah.
It's up there. It was, I think, beat only by Avatar as from 2022 releases.
Right.
Yeah. Huge. 1.5
Even
billion.
after all this, Paul, making a sequel to Top Gun, what a terrible idea. That still never sounds like a good idea. You're going to screw it up. It's impossible. You're going to mess it up. It's too fraught with how it's going to fall apart. And that's the thing. High wire act while you're watching it, you're like, they are not messing this up. Not only are they not messing this up, if someone came in brand new, knew nothing about Top Gun, you go, this is a really good movie. They should make a prequel to this, or whatever.
And Joseph Kosinski made sure that the action and the way it was filmed and made and the visual effects all advanced as they should after 36 years from the first one. Although I looked at Top Gun recently, and I gotta tell you, Tony Scott looks a little like David Lean compared to some of the stuff they're doing in action these days with crazy camera. I always thought he was style over substance, but it's not so flashy after all. But regardless, that all advanced. So it's up to the screenwriters, to which they got this nomination, to make sure that they have something as easy to follow as the Death Star trench run plot that they give and then just go. We talked about this with the Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Ford Fiesta. The CIA guys come in. Indy says what the arc is all about.
That's right.
We're off. Yeah, so they do that here. This is what we got to do, and we're off. Then now we can deal with characters and relationships and stakes.
And then balancing everything else. Man, that Top Gun, it is a special movie, but not the type of movie that wins Oscars. Never would have expected it to. Nice talk. It ain't going to win. Stallone ain't going to win. That's not how the Oscars works. Now, I also wouldn't say that Everything Everywhere All at Once would win. But this has been a pretty cool year. But the point is, Paul, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? Because we are here on the Ford Fiesta podcast.
Women talking?
Women talking. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, Harrison Ford does a bunch of dude movies. There are some women talking, but often women screaming, especially Temple of Doom, a little annoying. However, I do see here that Women Talking was produced by Brad Pitt, co-star of The Devil's Own with Harrison Ford.
Ah, yes.
It's a Ford Fiesta this Oscars.
Yeah, well, no doubt that these things have influence to push one to greatness.
There you go.
And I want to address a couple things in the chat. Big George Foreman, The Miraculous Story of the Once and Future Heavyweight Champion of the World. You want your long title? There it is.
That's the full title. That's amazing.
I think so, yeah. And then
that's awesome. Yeah.
Let me know. Have I frozen? Oh, there it is. I think if it's a sequel, it is. That's why Top Gun Maverick is also adapted.
Right.
So,
Which is weird.
uh,
It's kind of weird. It's
speaking
not
of Top Gun Maverick,
adapted,
let's get
adapted from the book Top Gun Maverick.
yeah. Speaking of which, let's get to best sound because that was won by Top Gun Maverick. So Top Gun Maverick is an Oscar-winning film. That's all I wanted
It
out of the
is.
night. That Elvis is not, and Top Gun Maverick is.
And this is what these movies win. They win best sound, they win best special effects, which they're good at.
Yeah, I mean, you do get like a Transformers movie or something like that, also being an Oscar-winning movie because of these categories. But Top Gun should absolutely win. The "You Are There"ness of the cockpits was incredible. So
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah, I don't know what else. Pretty solid set of nominees. I mean, All Quiet on the Western Front, ironic. Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis. Oh, can you give it to a documentary? Because I thought the
Best sound?
yeah, I thought the sound in Moon Age Daydream, the David Bowie movie, was tinkered over apparently for years, and in IMAX, that sound was boss. Loved it.
That really should have gotten a nod because I mean, come on, you're treating that music in that concert experience.
Yeah. So that was outstanding. But again, sound wouldn't play into anything with Harrison Ford, right?
Sound? Well, I mean, it's a well, I mean,
Would it?
it would. Paul, I believe let me bring up this photo right here that in this photo you'll see, this is from the British Grand Prix, and we reported on this during Movie Nonsense of 2021. Ford is telling crews to take the time during the pandemic to make sure your sound on Top Gun Maverick is really, really good. So that's it. We don't have audio there, but that's much like Spielberg was caught on mic telling Tom Cruise that he'd saved movies. Here is Harrison Ford saying, make sure that sounds really good in Top Gun Maverick or you're not going to get nominated. So there you go.
It's good to know they're both actors. I see that now in the label here. That I wasn't aware. All right.
I always say, what's the funniest thing when they announce people to the stage? It's like, please welcome the star of, like, what is the funniest?
Right, that's what we always say. Once bitten, Jim Carrey. Yeah.
Once bitten's Jim Carrey. Lions for Lambs, Tom Cruise. And
from Cool World, Brad Pitt. Yeah.
From Cool World, Brad Pitt.
All right, so then we get on to best song. We had all the nominees play throughout the night, and best song goes to, and this shocked me. I thought for sure they were going to give it to "Lift Me Up" from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. They were setting it up again. Rihanna went last. They let everyone go, and then Rihanna went last, and they give the award out. So you just remembered it just happened, and they went back and they gave it to "Natu" from RRR, which was outstanding. So. I wanted to put out a tweet yesterday that said, but it doesn't read. Also, I would have caught hell, I'm sure. That said, Rihanna, is it Rihanna or Rihanna or who gives a shit? That was I don't care. She bored me in the Super Bowl. She bored me last night. And I know that song's very emotional, but it's also kind of repetitive. Now, Natu is rather repetitive as well, but damn it, if it isn't energetic as hell, and I just love it. And I think that song wins mainly for the mounting of it, even more than anything else. Like the number in the movie RRR is nuts. It's insane. So it and then Lift Me Up's just over the end credits of Wakanda Forever. So that can also play into it as well throughout history. I think if the song is performed in the show and has a real moment,
always better,
better than
a
just
credit
end
song.
Credits. Yeah.
Exactly. Shoved into the end credits. Like a 1996 movie where there's like 6 songs in the credits and they just fade out real quick and then go to the next one, fade out so that they can get
right. Yeah, exactly.
What's the word? Not adapted by or influenced by, or what's the
songs inspired by the movie.
Songs inspired by. I just saw Spider-Man 3 and I have to put my thoughts into words. I've been so inspired.
Yeah.
Of course, Natu, the original version of that, it was played in Temple of Doom. That's the girls that chase Short Round to the dinner table. I think that's the original version of Natu. So go back and listen to that. That's how I connected to Harrison Ford.
Oh, I see. Like around here, something like here.
Yeah, somewhere around here. Yeah. So Short Round is chased into it. And I swear, when I heard Not To, I go, where have I heard that before? I think it's the song or, some version of it or something, or maybe they took an influence from it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice
And then
girl
chase
stuff,
Short
yeah.
Round into the thing. Yeah. I don't know. There's a sort of dance feel there too. I don't know. I just feel like it has to have had some sort of influence on RRR.
I'm getting a text from my friend who is driving and can't respond in the chat that I have obviously never seen Rihanna live in concert.
Okay.
That's
All
by
right.
design. But she says she's amazing, so I'll take you for it. I find her vocals dull. So that's just me. But what are you gonna do? Let's get on to editing.
It's not my thing. Things
Not
are
my-
allowed to not be my thing, right?
She's not. Yeah.
It's not my thing.
Lady
I don't know.
Gaga impressed me way the hell more than.
Look, I liked her in Battleship,
Rihanna.
but see, that just shows how I pay a lot different attention to Rihanna. Than,
That just shows you admitted you like Battleship or something about it in a show. I didn't even this Top Gun Maverick song, "Hold My Hand" was a credits song, and I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
After last night,
I don't remember it either.
I remember it now. I mean, good Lord, last night's performance by Gaga was outstanding. All right.
That was really good. By the way, take a real pause real quick here. Yeah. She's there in like a t-shirt. It's so great that like she went the opposite direction. She's there in a t-shirt and jeans, like, hey kids, don't do drugs. But also, here's a song. Like she turned the chair backwards. That's like a full turn the chair backwards for Lady Gaga. Hey, I know this show's been kind of crazy or whatever, but let's break it down a little bit here. This song I'm about to do is very special to me. I remember this one time I was flying a F-18 down a trench because someone had whatever inspired her to write that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought that was a cool presentation, like totally
yeah.
stripped down. Yeah.
I like her pared down entirely. Also, I mean, she's been on the Howard Stern show a couple times, and each time it's just usually with the piano, and I find her awesome.
Yeah.
Her fully produced, highly electronic songs, not as much. So last night was really good.
That was cool. I liked it.
Best editing. Now, first of all, I love that we get into director, actor, actress, picture, and right before that, editing. Like they put it very deep into the show. Like it was really important because it is. Because last year they didn't have it at all. It was one of those
they did
during the commercials. No editing. They had in the commercials. Makes me nuts.
It got edited out last year.
Yeah, pre-edited.
Worst editing. The Oscars telecast from last year.
It goes to everything, everywhere, all at once, which I predicted as well. I mean, also very difficult film to make sense. Half the work of the directors had to be working with that editor to make it all seamless, to make you not confused as you're watching, 1,000.
And as an editor myself, I love and hate that guy who gets up and goes, "This is only my second movie." Fuck
Different.
you, but also, all right, it's awesome. I can't be too bitter about that, but hey, man, that's awesome. Yeah, very cool. And what a movie to edit. Come on. What's the editing achievement of the year? Clearly, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, his name is Paul Rogers, not to be confused with the guy from Bad Company.
Okay. Paul.
Yeah.
I'm struggle to ask what does this have to do with Harrison Ford, but
do you?
No, well, look, Paul is the host of the Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
Paul Rogers works on Everything Everywhere. I mean, in fact, Ford's worked with a lot of Pauls. There's a Paul Freeman, Paul Bettany from Firewall.
Well, we all remember Firewall.
Yeah, Paul Lamont, American Graffiti.
Milner.
So, yeah, exactly. So it was only a matter of time until a Paul won an Oscar, given the influence, the number of Pauls that Harrison Ford has worked with, and the number of Pauls that host a show about Harrison Ford every Monday.
Yeah, well, I look forward to my Oscar somewhere down the line. All right, Best Director. Martin McDonagh, the Daniels, Spielberg, Todd Field, and Ruben Östlund. And the big omission as ever, 5 more nominees. I've made this bitch before on my Oscar rant. Rob Reiner, I think it was, when A Few Good Men was not nominated for Best Director, said that when a movie wins Best Picture, you should give an Oscar to the producer, you should give an Oscar to the director.
Yep.
Done. Yeah, but now a film that can win Best Director doesn't win Best Picture. Like in 1989 or 1989, Driving
A
Miss
number.
Daisy won Best
Another
Picture,
summer.
and the director wasn't even nominated. So none of that makes sense. So if you're going to have 10 Best Picture nominees, let's have 10 Best Director nominees as well.
It
So-
seems to be how they share the wealth by going, look, we're not going to give Best Director and Best Picture to the same movie, but since we want to give credit to one or the other, they kind of make that decision. Like, all right, we'll give this one Best Director because that's, it seems like the way they sort of share the wealth.
That's Shakespeare and Love year. Spielberg won director and then not picture.
Yeah.
But so as ever, I think you should have nominated James Cameron, Joseph Kosinski, Sarah Polley, Martin McDonagh, and Edward Berger for All Quiet on the Western Front. But again, McDonagh batting 1,000. I wish he got nominated. Todd Field, I've told you Tar was my favorite film. That guy took a 16-year hiatus. Hopefully he jumps right into his next project.
What was his last movie?
Little Children, and then In the Bedroom before that, and that's about it.
Oh, that's Todd Field.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
So good.
Wow.
So
Well,
But-
I was very impressed. I mean, look, I haven't seen Tar yet, but the advertising on that thing was so eccentric. Like it was like the long trailer of just her blowing smoke out of her mouth, and then like
Yeah.
whatever. You're like, whoa, man, this whoever this director is really eccentric and going for a very different. I can't wait to watch this movie. The question is, what does this have to do with Harrison Ford? Well,
probably nothing. He's never directed a feature.
no, he's never directed a feature. However, a lot of the guys he's worked with have won Best Director. Francis Ford Coppola, Mike Nichols,
yeah.
Sidney Pollack, Steven Spielberg, Roman Polanski. I mean, it's Harrison. If you work with Harrison Ford, eventually you're going to win Best Director. So, hopefully, maybe Harrison Ford works with the Daniels next. But
Well, he's kept the category relevant over time, and then here it is now, so the Quans can enjoy it. So the Quans,
exactly.
So Daniel Quan and Daniel Scheinert can enjoy it. Best Actor,
they look like a couple of chums, don't they? Everybody it's the first time
nerds. They look like nerds.
Such nerds.
Beautiful nerds.
Yeah.
And you summed it up well, I think, with a picture you said. It looks like, I don't think a movie has ever won Best Picture that's looked as much like a bunch of pals having fun making a flick or something.
Yeah,
like that.
bunch of chums all ended up at the Oscars, and you can see each one of them going, "Can you believe? Huh? What? We had a goofy ass idea and we got it made. That was enough. Like, what? What's happening?" That was very endearing. Nothing fake about anything in the Oscars this time. It's so genuine, crazy.
Yeah. When Paul gets his Oscar, he'll be sure to thank Harrison Ford. Now, William announced at the top of the show that he's driving and can't chime in, but he clearly pulled over to chime in to say that, and I thank you, my friend. All right.
Be careful driving.
We are going to die.
Not win Best Actor for Elvis. He was the best part of that terrible movie. So, but that,
Yeah.
Elvis, you're out.
But you're doing an Elvis impersonation. You're never going to win an acting Oscar for being an Elvis impersonator, basically. That's got stink on it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ray Charles won, but again, I thought
Yeah.
DiCaprio should have won for The Aviator, a much more nuanced performance. But I just thought Fraser was in the far superior movie. So when Brendan Fraser won, that was more my jam. So I was glad.
Is that Extraordinary Measures, Brendan Fraser?
Yeah. Why?
But also co-starring Harrison Ford.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
that's
saying-
right.
Right. I'm just saying I can connect that one in one actor.
Yeah, align with him early, and then you're able to put yourself on a path to success. That's what we're learning.
And you know what? Brendan Fraser even takes time off. Quan takes time off. But then later, they're so graced with the presence of having worked with Harrison Ford, can't help but be brought back to greatness.
And when they arrive back, Ford's still there because he's the man.
He's still there. Yeah. Did he have a moment where he congratulated Brendan Fraser? We didn't get that. Nobody's like, the reunion of Extraordinary Measures, Harrison Ford. That went under the radar.
They didn't bring him out to give out Best Actor. Yeah.
No.
Well, we're setting it up. There's electricity.
No hug between Brendan Fraser and Extraordinary Measures, Brendan Fraser and Harrison Ford. Oh, well, I guess K.R. Kwan,
No, the winner of last year's award comes to give the Oscar for the other gender. Like Jessica Chastain won Best Actress, so she showed up to give Best Actor award. Yeah. right? Do I have that right? No, they give it out to the same genre. Sorry. So Jessica Chastain showed up to give out the Best Actress award, and last year's Best Actor winner didn't show up to give the award out. Something must have happened. Anyway,
Oh, gotcha. Yes.
runners
Where
up
you're going with this.
runners. Boy, I screwed it up. Went a long way.
Could you imagine if Harrison Ford had gotten slapped, how punched that person would have gotten immediately afterwards? Ooh,
Yeah.
you wouldn't dare try that. Punch right the hell out.
So if there's anyone omitted from Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, Brendan Fraser, Paul Mescal, Bill Nighy, it's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, where's his Best Actor?
Not even nominated, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. He should have been. And
But it's
also,
that sort of Oscar thing of like you're nominated for Best Picture and a bunch of other stuff. It's enough. We're not gonna,
Yeah. Then Adam Sandler for Hustle. I thought had a long shot chance to get in there for a nomination. He was quite good. But
What is Hustle? I'm only hearing about this now. I'm so behind on
that's
the Oscars.
exactly no. It's because it's Netflix, and of course you don't know about it because they never.
Of course,
do
it's not a real
proper
movie.
advertising. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, as much as we want to say that they're real, but it's a TV movie. They're still TV movies. Back in the day, there were movies and TV movies. And as much as we've tried to say, oh no, Netflix movies are real movies. No, they're TV movies. You would have Winds of War. You would have these $30 million epic TV movies. So that's, that could be what All Quiet on the Western Front is. Just because it's got a big budget, it's a TV movie. These are all TV movies.
It's interesting you should bring that up because I look at the movies that won Oscars. They kept talking last night. I think even Harrison Ford screwed up his line and said, this was the year that theaters came back to the theater. He meant moviegoers.
Right.
So Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Whale, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Avatar: The Way of Water, Women Talking, Top Gun Maverick, and RRR, all theater movies. Only All Quiet on the Western Front and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio were
parody coming soon.
As with that nose.
What grows when he lies? It's ready for the adaptation.
So, I mean, a big tilt towards the theatrical releases. The streamers didn't have as big a showing as they did last year when Coda won. And maybe it's only right that Coda won in a year when everybody was indoors. Yeah. Because it was an Apple movie. But anyway.
And people that didn't, they were sign language, which means you're transmitting less particulate as well. So they might have factored in.
Great year for
safe way to talk.
Yes.
During quarantine.
A great year for women. The Best Actress category was stacked with Cate Blanchett, Anna de Armas, Andrea Riseborough, Michelle Williams, and Michelle Yeoh.
But who do we want to win?
Cate Blanchett. But anyway, I'm not mad about Michelle Yeoh.
No.
I just think Cate Blanchett was my favorite film of the year. Yeoh was great. Her speech was great. The tears were there again. Very emotional night overall, and she added to it.
You mean Michelle Yeoh from Marvel's Shang-Chi, right? And
correct.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 end credit scene. So I believe that's the same universe that Harrison Ford will be soon making an appearance in as General Thunderbolt Ross. So it's the universe has been good to Michelle Yeoh just from Harrison Ford even dipping his toe in it. Or maybe because she dipped her toe in it, he's going to be so good as Thunderbolt Ross. I can't say that Michelle Yeoh is not necessarily leading the energy on that one.
It's tough to pick someone from Women Talking who might have been nominated. I thought Carey Mulligan in She Said and Zoe Kazan were both excellent in a movie that I thought was fantastic.
Is She Said a prequel or sequel to Women Talking?
Women Talking, She Said.
Yeah. That's what she said.
Yeah. That's what she said. But of course, Daniel Deadweiler from Till and Viola Davis from The Woman King were not nominated, and that was the big hubbub leading up to the show that the black actresses were not nominated. But
yeah,
what are you gonna do? Blame the multiverse.
In an alternate universe, Angela Bassett won. So that's what we said.
So Best Picture, then that brings us to Best Picture.
Best Picture.
Yeah, what happened during the Best Picture?
Well, I think we have footage of that, Paul. Let's see here, and let's just watch this clip and then see if we can tie Harrison Ford into the proceedings.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
magical, isn't it?
Truly. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow. In that Harrison Ford voice.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
it's true. The multiverse.
It's true.
All of it.
All of it. It's great.
Luke Skywalker and Han Solo rescued the princess, destroyed the...
Unremarkable.
He's the man, isn't he? Oh my God.
That's right. My buddy Brad appeared with Brendan in some scene. That was cool. I interviewed him down at Universal as well when Tomb of the Dragon Emperor opened. I interviewed him for the crowd, like he was making an appearance on the lower lot of Universal. And man, he was so late coming from Comic-Con. The crowd was going to kill me. Then he showed up and charmed everybody. But
yeah. I was going to see if I can find that link there. What is that? I can't copy it from the thing.
So yeah, surprises. Jamie Lee Curtis, the All Quiet on the Western Front, winning cinematography. I didn't think it would. RRR. I thought Rihanna was going to win all that.
It's all fan favorites. It's all, it's we love Michelle Yeoh. We love Jamie Lee Curtis for decades and decades and decades. It's just what a great feel good Oscars. What an anti last year's Oscars. Last year's Oscars really felt like the end of a truly shitty period, and I think we watch the Oscars thinking, is this going to lift us? And you're like, no, it's more of the shitty period. It's more of people being shitty. And, and then everybody's going to go online with all their MAGA bullshit and be like, no, everybody deserves to be slapped. No, I love slapping, or whatever the fuck people are talking about, which is all nonsense, and here's the opposite of that. And it's genuine, not forced, not created. This is what happened for real. Twitter's not a real place. The Oscars is.
I mean, I think the number one moment of the day was Quan. The Navalny win for Best Documentary was very emotional with the wife of the guy who the movie's about, who's in solitary confinement in Russia, spoke. I mean,
it's something we're not even thinking about right now.
I know.
Like there's a war going on right there, and that ordinarily will take over some. And of course, there's always going to be a little political message stuff. But when it's like Alexander Navalny, who's been poisoned 3 times because he dared to oppose this dictator who's invaded this other country, it's like that's real villainous Star Wars shit. Like, yeah, Navalny, that's a feel good pick, and it reminds you that there's actual evil out there and there's actual people fighting that evil, just like Harrison Ford.
Hey, you tied that in too.
Navalny, yeah.
I also liked singing "Happy Birthday" to the kid who must have been the lead in the short film that won the Oscar. I don't know who he is, but it was charming to everybody. No one's never done. Has it ever happened at the Oscars? Let's all sing "Happy Birthday."
No, and that's the thing. This
genuine.
This Oscars was so on fire for feel good goodness that when it got down to a topic that nobody ever pays attention to, was it Best Documentary Short or Best Short?
I think it was
film?
Live Action Short.
Live Action Short. Something no one ever pays attention to. Minted a moment. Like, we are all feeling good about that too. It's like, yeah, Navalny. Nobody knows that documentary. That's largely why the documentaries are there to, get people to see him, stuff like that. And you're like, here's a feel good thing. We're fighting Russia. That's the Rocky IV pick of documentaries. Like, everything's so feel good this year. And even Top Gun is like the Rocky IV pick of, that type of movie too. It's just like, it's really cool year,
and
good stuff. Movies
John
rock.
Travolta coming out to sort of redeem himself after Adele Dazeem gets through his introduction. He didn't call Lenny Kravitz Lindsay Croissant, as I said he thought you might have, but he got through it. But then to the point where he knew he was introducing the in memoriam montage where Olivia Newton-John would lead the memorial montage. And he busted up a little bit, and it was very touching, all these moments were real. And
yeah.
And my second favorite moment of the entire night, though, was Colin Farrell seeing that donkey. He came out with the donkey, and Farrell was like, "Oh my God, it's him! Look, it's my boy!" Like, he had this genuine sort of playful boyishness about seeing the damn donkey that I thought was just hilarious.
Man, it's just like, it's every moment, and none of it manufactured. I mean, yeah, of course they bring the donkey on but that was in the movie, and that's something people liked, and they brought it out, and he had a genuine affection for it, and
Oh, the animals that were so great in Banshees, the donkey too
I
much.
can't wait to see that either. I mean, it's an unusual year in that the next 2 weeks is going to be watching Oscar movies, but
Yeah, don't let the year get away from you. You'll be like, oh, I should go see Scream 6, and oh, I should go see blah blah blah. Get these out of the way
yeah,
before we get into Fast 10 and we're off to the summer.
right.
So, all right, that's all I got to say. I thought it was great.
Wow.
What a great time. Well, I fucking love movies.
I know. This is your time of year, Paul. You have always been. But before we ever did a show, it was the newsletter was you. It was, if you did only one thing the year, it was the blast of like, here's all my the Oscar rant. You just call it the Oscar rant, and then then basically we're taking that sort of discussion. We're like, all right, let's start discussing other movies, and so really that was like the first movie guys thing was always the Paul Preston
Yeah,
Oscar.
you're right. Yeah, that's
time of
how
year.
it all began. Then Karen said, "You should have a web page." What's a web page? A web page, and then we went from there.
I know. Right, exactly. Let's talk about more movies in other parts of the year. Well, let's talk about the summer movies. Okay, we'll do a show about that. Okay, we'll talk about the Christmas movies. We'll do a show about that. And then before we knew it, we're doing the show every week. So, yeah.
Let's make some plugs. Go to check out our appearance on Page Turner's They Were Not. We went on Brendan
Yes,
Morris
that's right.
podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Or-
that's right. And Brennan did say he popped in earlier. He's probably still around here.
He
Let's
did.
find
Thank
his
us for
little-
coming on the show. You can go to themovieguys.net and hear our appearance on there. When you want to talk about Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
or in any way, you come to us. We'll handle it. And he wanted to talk about early George Lucas. Now, thank God you were there, Adam, because boy, there
Twist
was
my arm.
I mean, once you get to American Graffiti, I was able to join the conversation. But good Lord, everything before that, you and he knew a lot. And it's not surprising that Brendan was a big-time winner on the first class league of movie trivia.
Yep. And and that's where I got to know Brennan, and he asked us to be on his show, and he ran a really good show. There was a few things that he told me that I didn't know, and I'm like, wow, you can school me in a little George Lucas stuff. So he did his research. So that was fun. And there was a fun moment where there's a little bit of nonsense that becomes popular talk about George Lucas that I find unacceptable. And I can't remember, there was something where I shut him down really quickly. I'm like, we're not going to have that discussion. So I can't remember what it was right now, but it was one of those things where, I've got maybe 4 or 5 triggers where I'm like, there's something in there where he went one way and I go, here's the other. So it was a fun conversation. Yeah. So go subscribe to Brennan's feed there and go see us. Yeah, we had a good time on that show. It's good.
Yeah, it's also at themovieguys.net. And so is this, our appearance on the Left Side, Strong Side Sports Show.
Oh, that's right.
Hosted by Chance Ellison and featuring all sorts of people in that Schmodown universe. Winston Marshall was in there, and Mike Deacon.
Yeah, good to see
AJ Lancaster. And so they were all doing a fun concept, drafting a football fantasy team.
Yes.
From movie host. So we're like, we don't know what the hell we're doing. So we just kind of goofed on everything, played the play-by-play commentators for the draft, and had fun with that. So it's out there.
Yeah, that
also at themovieguys.net.
Yeah, the fun thing about that was, that's us playing character. We're our host characters, and that's very different from like our appearance on other stuff.
And we'll leave you with this. The best, right?
Oh, also, I have to plug something here. I was just on, and I haven't had a chance to plug it yet, but I was just on Settle the Score.
That's right.
And let's see if I can find one question here. I don't want to spoil much.
Randomly?
Well, hold on. I think it's I better not do this. I'll bring a clip next week.
Happy birthday, Polly.
There you go. That's all you get. But there was a Harrison Ford themed question. They're very good about that sort of stuff, and it is a funny one. It's they pulled out a great Raiders track that you wouldn't expect them to pull, and I got it instantly. I was very good in this match. Definitely go watch that.
Yeah,
we'll pull clips for next week. We'll pull some actual moments.
What's your record then? Because is it are you 500? You did better at Settle the Score than you did at the Star Wars and the Schmodown.
Yes.
So you might be 500 or even better.
I won't
You beat
blow
me
the
once.
ending to this one. I won't blow the ending to this one just yet, but we'll talk about it next week, and I'll pull a couple clips. But I did good. I did good. And it probably helped the fact that I told you I was taking a walk, and there's a guy that makes coffee over on the corner. He has a little stand, and I was talking to him for a long time because he makes a French press or whatever. And I was about to do my walk over there at Runyon Canyon, and he goes, "You want a little? You want to make this this coffee a little special? You want a little mezcal in it, which I've never had before. It turns out it's terrible, but I got a little toasted before the match, and I think it helped. So if you watch it, I'm a little like a little loose.
Yeah. All right, but in the meantime, okay, listen, we can get on track. I think now that you're back in town, to be back next week and start our work on Presumed Innocent, right? Because you need
It's
to
time
see
to work
that.
on Presumed Innocent, and in honor of KOA Quan, I'm going to finish Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom tonight, and we'll actually get that on our feed.
Oh,
and then,
cool.
Yeah, and then I'm going to try and spin right into Witness so that we can kind of go, get a couple weeks under our belt since we've taken an extended break.
I have that half edited, so I think that's good.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, then farewell to all, and to all, good Oscars.
Good,